Beloved, listen to me carefully. I am not just speaking to your ears today. I am speaking to your spirit. 2026 is not just another year. It is a year that God has meticulously planned for your life. Every moment, every encounter, every door that opens, every challenge that comes, every blessing that awaits, it has been ordered by God himself. So many of us ignore divine instruction, we get distracted. We follow the noise of the world instead of the voice of God. We chase approval instead of destiny. And yet God is calling you, guiding you, whispering to you, do not ignore this instruction. This is a year to rise above confusion, hesitation, and doubt. This is a year to step boldly into the path that God has prepared for you. The enemy will try to confuse you. The world will try to tempt you to shortcuts. Divine order cannot be rushed, it cannot be cheated, and it cannot be denied. Your life is under divine orchestration. Your job, your business, your relationships, your finances, everything is being lined up in perfect alignment. But you must respond. You must act with faith. You must listen with clarity. Ignoring God's instruction is no longer an option. Some of you have prayed for doors to open. Well, God is opening them. Some of you have asked for favor. God is placing it in your path. Some of you have sought clarity. God is sending the light. But you must recognize the signal. You must walk when God tells you to walk and wait when God tells you to wait. Timing is divine. The hand of God is guiding you. God is not ordering your life to punish you. He is ordering it to bless you, elevate you, and prepare you for greatness. Your destiny is not random. Your breakthroughs are not by chance. Your victories are not delayed forever. Will you hear the call? Will you recognize the instruction and follow it without hesitation? Or will you let this year pass you by, the favor of God waiting at the door, and you standing outside? 2026 is a year of divine alignment. Your life is being ordered. The question is, will you obey? Will you move in step with God's perfect plan? Do not ignore this instruction. Step forward in faith. Rise in obedience. Watch as God turns your life into a testimony of his glory. 2026 is not just another year. It is a year that has been meticulously planned by God himself. Every moment, every opportunity, every challenge, every blessing, nothing in your life happens by accident. Nothing is random. There is a divine blueprint for your life, and God is orchestrating it with precision. Too often, we live as if our lives are just a series of coincidences, as if success, relationships, or opportunities appear by luck or timing. But I tell you today, God is not a God of randomness. He is a God of order. He is a God of strategy. He has a plan for you in 2026 that is beyond what your mind can comprehend, beyond what your eyes can see, beyond what your imagination can capture. Your circumstances do not define your destiny. Your finances do not limit your breakthrough. Your past failures do not cancel your future victories. The divine plan is larger than your setbacks, stronger than your fears, and brighter than your doubts. Every delay you have experienced, every closed door, every disappointment, God has been redirecting your life to align perfectly with his purpose. Imagine this. A master architect building a house. Every brick, every beam, every window, every door is deliberately placed according to a plan. No detail is left to chance. No corner is unmeasured. God is the master architect of your life. 2026 is the year when the architecture of your destiny comes into alignment. Every experience, every person you meet, every challenge, and every opportunity is part of that divine blueprint. You must recognize it. You must position yourself to walk in alignment with it. God's plan requires awareness, faith, and obedience. You cannot stumble into your destiny by accident. You cannot drift into favor. You cannot ignore divine instruction and expect results. God is ordering your steps, and you must follow the direction he provides. Some of you will look at 2026 and see obstacles, challenges, or delays, and you will be tempted to believe that nothing is happening. But I tell you today, what looks like delay is often divine preparation. God is aligning people, resources, and circumstances so that when the time comes, everything falls into place at exactly the right moment. Nothing is early, nothing is late, and nothing is wasted. Every major figure in history, every story of breakthrough in Scripture, and every testimony of transformation came because someone recognized the divine plan and aligned with it. Joseph was sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned, but he never lost sight of God's plan. David faced giants, betrayal, exile, but he trusted the divine order of his life. Esther uncertainty and fear, but she moved boldly when she realized her life was divinely positioned for such a time as this. Your story for 2026 is no different, but there is a warning here. Divine planning requires cooperation. God will prepare, God will align, God will order, but he cannot do the work of your obedience for you. If you ignore the signs, delay action, or choose convenience over faith, the plan can stall. Opportunities can pass, doors can close, favor can be redirected. That is why awareness, discernment, and readiness are so critical. 2026 is the year where preparation meets opportunity. This is the year where your past, present, and future intersect in divine alignment. Every lesson you have learned, every trial you have endured, every moment of faithfulness, you were being positioned for this season. The divine plan is not just about success. It is about alignment. It is about walking in the purpose God created you for. It is about stepping into your God-given destiny with confidence and courage. Now, some of you are worried about time and you are thinking, I am not ready. I don't have what I need. I don't know how I will succeed. Listen to me. Divine planning is not dependent on your readiness. It is dependent on your obedience. God will equip you, strengthen you, and prepare you as you follow the path he has laid out. You cannot manufacture your destiny. You must step into it as God directs. This is why prayer, reflection, and spiritual discernment are vital. You cannot align with a plan you cannot hear. God speaks to those who listen. He directs those who are attentive. He rewards those who follow instructions faithfully. And in 2026, his plan is clear. Move when he tells you to move. Wait when he tells you to wait. Trust him through every season. Do not ignore the signs. Do not allow fear, doubt, or distraction to keep you from walking in the plan God has for you. Divine blueprint for 2026 is not just about survival. It is about dominion, impact, and transformation. Your life is being positioned to influence others, to achieve victories, and to shine with God's glory. Commit to walking in alignment with God's plan. Recognize the divine orchestration in your life. Trust that every delay, every challenge, and every blessing is part of the masterpiece he is creating. Obey even when it is difficult. Move forward even when the path is unclear, and do not settle for convenience, for compromise, or for shortcuts. Your destiny is waiting. Your season of favor is here. Your divine plan for 2026 has already been set in motion. The doors are opening. The opportunities are aligning. The resources are being positioned. Your role in God's plan is unique, specific, and essential. Those who align with divine planning will experience favor, breakthroughs, testimony beyond imagination. Those who ignore it may find delay, confusion, and frustration. But those who hear, obey, step into God's timing, will see miracles unfold, doors open, and lives transformed. 2026 is your year of divine alignment. God is ordering your steps. God is orchestrating your life. God is preparing your destiny. Recognize it, align with it, step boldly into it. Watch as your life becomes a testimony of his wisdom, power, and glory. There is a danger in your life that many overlook. It is silently robbing people of their breakthroughs, blessings, and destinies. That danger is ignoring God's instruction. Yes, there is a difference between hearing God and obeying God. There is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. There is a difference between seeing opportunity and responding to opportunity. Too often, people hear the call, sense the direction, even receive clear guidance, and yet they do nothing. They ignore the instruction. They postpone obedience. They rationalize delay and compromise. Ignoring instruction is dangerous. It is costly. It is destructive. It may look harmless for a season, but the consequences are real and the effects can echo for years. Every delay, every hesitation, every act of disobedience has a price. Every time you choose your own way over God's way, you risk missing the divine alignment that is designed for your life. Consider this: God's instruction is never arbitrary. It is never random. It is not a suggestion. It is not a guideline. It is a command for your blessing, your growth, your favor, and your destiny. When God instructs you to move, it is because the season is right. When God instructs you to wait, it is because preparation is necessary. When God instructs you to speak, it is because the word will impact lives. And when you ignore these instructions, you block the very flow of your destiny. Some of you are ignoring instructions because they are inconvenient. They are difficult. They challenge your comfort zone. They ask you to make sacrifices, to trust without seeing, to step into the unknown. But hear me clearly, the very thing you resist is the thing that will propel you forward. Ignoring it may feel easier today, but it will cost you tomorrow. Ignoring it may bring temporary relief, but it will delay your breakthrough. Ignoring it may save you discomfort, but it will steal your destiny. Think about every major failure, every missed opportunity, every delay in your life, and trace it back. Often, the common thread is ignoring divine instruction. How many times did you sense God speaking, felt his nudging, and yet chose your own path? How many times did you put your own understanding above God's wisdom? How many times did you compromise and rationalize, thinking you were smarter than the divine plan? And what was the result? Delay, frustration, loss, regret. God's instruction is also protective. It is a shield against danger, a safeguard for your life, and a guide to keep you from harm. Ignoring instruction exposes you to unnecessary risks. Ignoring instruction allows mistakes that could have been avoided. Ignoring instruction often leads to paths filled with confusion, stress, and chaos. The enemy loves it when God's people ignore instruction because he knows that when you step out of divine order, you make yourself vulnerable. Obedience brings life, delay brings loss, and disobedience brings consequences. Every instruction God gives you is not for punishment. It is for blessing. It is not for limitation. It is for elevation. It is not to make your life difficult. It is to align your life with destiny. And when you ignore it, you are rejecting the very hand that is holding your future. Some of you have been warned repeatedly, but you are still ignoring the signs. You are still resisting the call. You are still rationalizing, I will do it later. I don't understand yet, or it's not the right time. Hear me, there is never a better time than the time God sets. Divine timing is perfect, and delay can be deadly. Opportunities have windows. Favor has seasons. Instructions must be obeyed in the moment, or the moment passes. With it, the blessing. The stories of the Bible are filled with people who faced consequences because they ignored instruction. Jonah ran from the call and spent 3 days in the belly of the fish. Saul disobeyed God and lost the kingdom he was meant to inherit. Adam and Eve ignored God's instruction and opened the door to consequences that affected all of humanity. These are not just stories, they are warnings. Principle is the same today. Ignoring instruction comes with consequences, whether immediate or delayed. It is never too late to realign. It is never too late to turn back. God's mercy is limitless and his grace is ready to guide you back to the path of obedience. But you must act. You must respond. You must stop rationalizing and start obeying. You must stop postponing and start moving. You must stop ignoring and start listening. Your breakthrough, your destiny, and your future depend on it. Ignoring instruction is not a minor error. It is not a small oversight. It is a serious spiritual misstep that can derail your life. It can delay your breakthrough, rob your favor, and block your destiny. But obedience, faithful, immediate, wholehearted obedience aligns you with God's power, God's timing, and God's blessings. Obedience is the bridge between where you are and where God has called you to be. In 2026, God is ordering your life with precision. He is giving instructions, opening doors, and creating opportunities. He is sending signs, moments, and nudges. And the warning is clear: do not ignore them. Do not delay. Do not rationalize. Do not compromise. The blessings you are seeking, the breakthroughs you are praying for, the destiny you are reaching for, they are tied to your willingness to respond. I will no longer ignore instruction. I will no longer rationalize delay. I will no longer choose convenience over destiny. I will obey even when it is hard. I will move even when it is uncomfortable. I will trust even when I cannot see. And as I do, I will step into the fullness of the life God has ordered for me. Do not take this lightly. Do not let 2026 pass without alignment. Every instruction you receive from God is a step toward your destiny. Every warning is a call to faithfulness. Every sign is an invitation to walk in divine favor. Ignoring instruction is not an option. Obedience is not optional. Your future depends on your response today. The hand of God is guiding your life, but you must follow the path. The door of opportunity is open, but you must walk through it. The instructions have been given, but you must obey. Ignoring instruction is dangerous. Ignoring instruction is costly. Ignoring instruction delays destiny. Do not ignore it. Do not delay. Do not rationalize. Respond today and watch as God turns obedience into breakthrough, instruction into elevation, alignment into testimony. 2026 is a year of destiny. God is ordering your steps. God is orchestrating your life. God is giving instruction. Heed it, follow it, walk in it, and do not ignore it because your future depends on it. Distraction and temptation are the silent thieves of destiny. They creep in quietly, they look harmless at first, and they masquerade as opportunity, comfort, or even necessity. But make no mistake, ultimate purpose is to derail you from the life God has planned for you. 2026 is a year of divine alignment, a year of opportunity, a year where God is ordering your steps. And if you are not careful, distractions and temptations will keep you from walking fully in that divine plan. Distraction is everywhere. It is not just the obvious, the noise of the world, the endless social media scrolls, the constant chatter around us. Distraction is subtle. It comes as business. It comes as good opportunities that pull you away from the best opportunities. It comes as the urgent, the seemingly important, the tasks that fill your day but do not fill your purpose. Distraction is a spiritual enemy. It steals your focus, your energy, ultimately your results. Temptation is even more dangerous. Temptation whispers, take the shortcut. Compromise just this once. Do what feels good. Do what everyone else is doing. Temptation appeals to the flesh. It appeals to pride, and it appeals to impatience. And if you give into it, even once, it can have a ripple effect on your destiny. Every time you cave to temptation, every time you choose comfort over principle, every time you compromise your integrity for convenience, you are opening the door to consequences that delay your breakthroughs and distort your purpose. Distraction and temptation are designed to rob you of your focus, your time, and your divine alignment. They are designed to make you miss the windows of opportunity God has opened for you. They are designed to make you second guess your calling, question your faith, and settle for mediocrity. And the worst part is, they are cunning. They often come dressed as something good. A tempting opportunity may seem lucrative, but pull you away from your God-ordained path. A distraction may appear necessary, but it costs you precious time, energy, and clarity. God has a plan for your life. God has a purpose for 2026, and the enemy will fight against it. He will try to pull you away with distractions, tasks that fill your schedule but not your purpose, people who drain your energy instead of building you up, entertainment that pacifies instead of empowers, and he will try to seduce you with temptations, shortcuts that promise immediate gain but cost your integrity, decisions that seem harmless but create spiritual debt, pleasures that feel good today but leave emptiness tomorrow. You may be thinking, but I'm strong, I can handle it, I can multitask, I can balance it all. Let me tell you something, no one can serve two masters. No one can give their best to God while divided by distraction and temptation. Your focus is finite. Your energy is limited. Your attention is sacred. When you scatter it on things that do not matter, you reduce the impact you were created to make. The time, the energy, the talent, and anointing God has given you must be reserved for divine purpose, not wasted on distractions or diverted by temptation. Every major failure, every missed opportunity, every delay in breakthrough is often tied to distraction or temptation. Look at the stories of Scripture. Samson was gifted with strength, but distraction and temptation with Delilah led to his downfall. David was chosen, anointed, and blessed, yet his moment of temptation with Bathsheba almost destroyed his life. Peter, despite being a leader, was tempted to deny Christ and stumbled in a moment of pressure. These are not just ancient stories. They are spiritual principles that apply to you today. Beloved, 2026 is too important to waste on distractions. It is too critical to fall for temptation. God is ordering your life, opening doors, and aligning circumstances for your breakthrough. And you must guard your heart, your mind, and your focus. You must prioritize obedience, faith, and perseverance over pleasure, convenience, or superficial allure. The devil will come dressed as an opportunity, a person, a shortcut, or a distraction. But your job is to discern and stay anchored. Discipline is your weapon. Focus is your shield. Prayer is your compass. When distraction pulls at you, prayer brings you back. When temptation whispers, discipline keeps you aligned. when the world screams for your attention. Focus keeps your eyes on the divine prize. The stronger your discipline, the sharper your focus, the closer you are to your destiny. Every distraction avoided and every temptation resisted is a step closer to destiny. Every time you say no to what feels good but is not right, you are saying yes to God's plan. Every time you turn away from easy shortcuts, you are turning toward lasting success. Every time you protect your time, energy, and focus, you are investing in the blessings, breakthroughs, and testimonies that God has prepared for you. Some of you have been wandering, pulled here and there, given into every distraction, allowing every temptation to dictate your path. But I challenge you today, 2026 will not be the year of distraction. It will not be the year of compromise. It will be the year of alignment, focus, and divine breakthrough. You will need to guard your mind, protect your energy, and sharpen your spiritual discernment. You will need to separate what is urgent from what is important, what is temporary from what is eternal. Distraction and temptation will come for you. They will try to delay your breakthrough, steal your joy, weaken your resolve. But you have a choice. You can succumb to the noise, the shortcuts, and the allure, or you can rise above, stay anchored in purpose, keep your eyes fixed on God. The choice is yours. Obedience brings elevation. Distraction brings stagnation. Temptation brings compromise. Focus brings fulfillment. Discipline brings destiny. Guard your focus. Protect your energy. Resist every temptation. Avoid every distraction that pulls you from your purpose. In 2026, God is orchestrating your life, and the path to your destiny requires undivided attention, wavering faith, and unshakable obedience. Don't let distraction and temptation steal what God has prepared for you. Step boldly, stay faithful, walk in integrity, keep your eyes on the prize, and watch as God turns your focus into favor, your discipline into breakthroughs, your obedience into testimony, recognizing divine signals. In 2026, God is ordering your life with precision, aligning circumstances, opening doors, and orchestrating encounters that will shift your destiny. But here's the truth: if you cannot recognize His signals, you may miss your blessing. You may walk past opportunities, ignore guidance, and delay the fulfillment of your purpose. God does not work randomly. He does not speak ambiguously. He communicates, He directs, He positions, and He signals, and your life will remain stagnant if you do not discern these divine cues. Divine signals come in many forms. Sometimes they arrive as words in prayer, scripture, or prophetic insight. Sometimes they arrive as circumstances, a closed door, a sudden opportunity, an unexpected encounter, or even a challenge designed to redirect you. Sometimes they are subtle, a gut feeling, a recurring thought, or a peace or unease that alerts your spirit. These are not coincidences. These are not random occurrences. These are God's fingerprints on your life, guiding you toward alignment with His plan. Recognizing divine signals requires awareness. It requires stillness. It requires attentiveness of spirit. So often people are too busy to notice. They are moving so fast, so distracted, so caught up in the noise of the world that they miss the whisper of God. They mistake divine guidance for coincidence. They dismiss clarity as luck. They pass opportunities thinking they are ordinary. Beloved, what you perceive as ordinary may very well be extraordinary divine instruction. God is not going to force you into obedience. He signals. He nudges. He illuminates the path, and He waits for you to respond. Divine signals are always invitations to align with your destiny. But if you ignore them, procrastinate, or rationalize them away, the opportunity passes, doors close, favor is delayed, destiny is stalled. That is why spiritual discernment is essential. That is why attentiveness of heart is non-negotiable. In the Bible, divine signals were everywhere. Noah received the warning about the flood, a signal that required action. Abraham was instructed to leave his familiar home for a land he did not know, a signal demanding faith. Joseph interpreted dreams, a divine signal that positioned him to save nations. Esther recognized the timing of her life, a signal that called her to courage and advocacy. All of these were ordinary humans responding to divine signals. Their obedience changed the course of history. And here is the spiritual principle: divine signals always precede destiny. He is orchestrating your life. He is opening doors, sending people, and aligning opportunities. The question is, will you recognize his signal? Will you see the pattern, hear the whisper, discern the path, and respond? Or will you miss it, thinking it is just coincidence, luck, or timing? Those who fail to recognize divine signals often live a life of regret. Those who perceive and act upon them step into a life of favor, purpose, and breakthrough. Recognizing divine signals requires preparation. You cannot see what you are not ready to perceive. You cannot hear what you are not listening for. You cannot act on what you do not understand. That is why prayer, meditation, reflection, and obedience are essential. You must cultivate a heart and mind that are in tune with God's voice. You must quiet the noise of the world and the chatter of doubt. You must sharpen your spiritual senses so that when God signals, you recognize it immediately and respond decisively. Divine signals often test your courage. They push you beyond comfort. They require faith that defies logic. They demand action when the path seems unclear. And this is where most people stumble. They see the signal, but they hesitate. They hear the call, but they delay. They feel the nudge, but they rationalize away the urgency. And in doing so, they forfeit the very blessings that were designed for them. The more you respond to God's signals, the clearer they become. The more you act on guidance, the more attuned you become to discernment. The more you obey, the sharper your spiritual senses. God honors responsiveness. He magnifies obedience. He rewards those who recognize, respond, and walk in alignment. And here is the promise in 2026. If you are attentive, if you are responsive, if you are ready, divine signals will lead you into breakthroughs that exceed your imagination. Some of you are ignoring signals because they are inconvenient. They require sacrifice. They demand change. They challenge your comfort, your plans, your expectations. But hear me today. The signal may not always be convenient, but it is always necessary. Every closed door, every redirected path, every unexpected encounter is God's way of signaling you to the right course. Ignoring it is dangerous. Responding to it is life-changing. Recognizing divine signals also requires humility. You must surrender your agenda, your timing, your understanding, and your pride. You must trust that God sees more, knows more, and plans more than you ever could. And when you recognize a signal and step forward in faith, you participate in the unfolding of your destiny. You move in harmony with the divine orchestration. You align your life with purpose, and you position yourself for favor and breakthrough. Sharpen your spiritual discernment. Tune your heart to hear the whispers. Observe the patterns in your life. Notice the nudges and interruptions. Pay attention to people, opportunities, and circumstances that are appearing with precision. Divine signals are everywhere. They are your compass. They are your guide. They are the markers that separate ordinary life from extraordinary destiny. Do not be passive. Do not be distracted. Do not dismiss the subtle. Recognize it. Respond to it. Move in alignment with it. And watch as God transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary miracles. Ordinary doors into divine appointments, and ordinary decisions into life-changing breakthroughs. The hand of God is moving, and divine signals are guiding your steps. If you miss them, you delay your breakthrough. If you recognize them, you accelerate your destiny. Your life in 2026 will reflect the choices you make today. Choices to observe, listen, discern, and obey. Divine signals are not for the passive, the distracted, careless. They are for those who are awake, aware, and ready. The signals are coming. They are precise. They are timely. They are life-changing. Recognize them, respond to them, and step boldly into the destiny God has ordered for you in 2026. Obedience over convenience. It is easy to choose comfort, to choose the path that feels safe, to take the shortcut, to settle for what is easy. But the path of convenience is rarely the path of blessing. It is rarely the path of growth. And it is rarely the path that leads to the fulfillment of God's purpose in your life. Obedience is not always easy. Obedience is not always immediate. Obedience is not always convenient. In fact, obedience often requires sacrifice. It often requires patience. Often calls for faith that defies logic. But hear me today, obedience always produces results that convenience never can. Every time you obey God, Even when it is hard, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it challenges your understanding, you position yourself for favor, breakthroughs, divine alignment. Abraham was asked to leave his home and go to a land he had never seen. It was inconvenient, it was uncertain, it was uncomfortable. Abraham obeyed, and because he obeyed, he became the father of nations. Joseph was sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. Yet he obeyed God's guidance in interpreting dreams and maintaining integrity. His obedience led him to become a ruler, saving nations in the process. Every story of breakthrough in Scripture is rooted in obedience, not convenience. The world constantly tempts us toward convenience. It tells us to settle. It tells us to compromise. It tells us to choose comfort over principle. It tells us to take the shortcut, even if it conflicts with God's instruction. The danger is that convenience feels good. It feels safe. It gives the illusion of relief, but it is temporary. Convenience may protect you from immediate discomfort, but it will delay your breakthrough. Convenience may ease your journey for a moment, but it will cost you your destiny in the long term. Obedience, on the other hand, requires courage. It requires discipline. It requires faith. Obedience often feels uncomfortable because it pushes you beyond your comfort zone. It asks you to trust when you cannot see. It asks you to step into unknown territory. It asks you to act when others are standing still. But it is in these moments of obedience, in the moments when you choose principle over ease, that you position yourself for divine alignment. How many times have you delayed action because it was inconvenient? How many times have you avoided speaking the truth because it was uncomfortable? How many times have you passed up an opportunity to help, to lead, or to step forward because it was easier to do nothing? And what was the result? Delay, missed opportunities, regret, and sometimes compromise. The cost of convenience is far greater than the challenge of obedience. Obedience also builds character. It strengthens faith. It teaches perseverance. When you choose obedience over convenience, you develop resilience. You grow in wisdom. You learn to trust God's timing, God's guidance, and God's provision. Convenience offers temporary comfort, but obedience produces lasting transformation. It molds your spirit, aligns your life with destiny, and positions you for greater impact. Here is a principle: obedience requires prioritization. You must decide what is more important, your comfort or your calling, your ease or your destiny, your convenience or your alignment with God's plan. Every decision you make is either a step toward obedience or a step toward compromise. Every choice to obey, even in small things, strengthens your ability to obey in greater matters. Every decision to choose convenience over obedience weakens your influence and delays your breakthrough. Beloved, obedience is also an act of faith. It says, I trust God's plan even when I cannot see it. I trust His wisdom even when it is difficult. I trust His timing even when it is inconvenient. Obedience is a declaration that God's instruction is more valuable than comfort. It is a statement that principle matters more than pleasure. It is a choice to honor divine guidance above personal convenience. God honors obedience. He elevates those who obey. He opens doors that convenience cannot open. He grants favor that shortcuts cannot provide. He blesses the faithful who choose principle over ease, discipline over indulgence, and integrity over compromise. The blessings that God has for you in 2026 are directly tied to your willingness to choose obedience over convenience. Some of you are struggling because you have been choosing convenience for too long. You have been compromising, delaying, rationalizing, and avoiding the hard path. And as a result, your breakthrough has been delayed, your purpose has been stalled, and your destiny has been postponed. Here is the good news. It is never too late to choose obedience. It is never too late to align with God's instruction. It is never too late to step out in faith, even when it is inconvenient, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it challenges everything you know. It will not be a year for compromise. It will not be a year for convenience. It will be a year for alignment, for faith, for obedience, and for purpose. God is ordering your life. Doors are opening. Opportunities are aligning. Favor is coming. But your obedience is required. Your faith is required. Your willingness to choose principle over comfort is required. Choose obedience over convenience. Step out even when it is uncomfortable. Follow God even when it is inconvenient. Act with integrity even when it is costly. Speak truth even when it is difficult. Prioritize your destiny over your comfort. Prioritize divine instruction over temporary ease. Prioritize your calling over the path that seems easy, popular, or comfortable. Obedience is never easy, but it is always rewarding. Convenience may feel good today, but obedience produces lasting fruit, transformation, and testimony. Convenience may spare you discomfort, but obedience leads to purpose, breakthrough, and elevation. Convenience may satisfy the moment. Obedience fulfills the plan of God. Your breakthrough is waiting. Your life is being ordered by God. But it is your obedience that unlocks the doors, activates favor, and positions you for your miracle. Choose obedience over convenience. Walk in alignment with God's instruction. Step boldly into the path He has prepared, and watch as your life is transformed into a testimony of faith, discipline, and divine favor. Obedience over convenience is not a suggestion. It is a principle that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It separates those who achieve destiny from those who settle for delay. It separates those who are blessed from those who are stalled. Choose obedience today. Choose it consistently, choose it wholeheartedly, and 2026 will be your year of divine alignment, supernatural favor, and unprecedented breakthroughs. Faith is the weapon that conquers fear. Fear is the enemy of your breakthrough. Fear is the voice that whispers doubt, hesitation, and delay. Fear is the invisible chain that keeps people from stepping into their destiny. But faith over fear is the principle that moves mountains, opens doors, positions you for the blessings God has prepared for your life in 2026. Too often, we allow fear to dictate our choices. We let fear control our words, our actions, our decisions, and even our prayers. We worry about what might go wrong, who might oppose us, or how things might not work out. And in doing so, we miss opportunities, we delay our breakthroughs, and we compromise our destiny. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual attack designed to paralyze you and keep you from the plan God has for your life. But faith is louder than fear. Faith sees what fear cannot see. Faith acts when fear wants to freeze. Faith moves when fear wants to stand still. Faith speaks when fear tries to silence. And here is the truth: faith is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act despite fear. It is the decision to trust God's plan, even when the path is unclear. It is the determination to move forward, even when the future looks uncertain. It is the courage to believe in what you cannot yet see. Consider the story of David facing Goliath, a young boy with a sling standing against a giant. Fear would have told him to run. Fear would have told him it was impossible. Fear would have told him to hide. But faith spoke louder. Faith said, God has brought me to this moment. God has equipped me for this battle. God's plan cannot fail. And because David acted in faith, the giant fell and his destiny unfolded. That is what faith over fear looks like. It turns impossibilities into testimonies. Fear will speak lies. Fear will exaggerate your challenges. Fear will highlight your weaknesses and make mountains out of molly hills. Fear will focus on what you lack rather than what God has already provided. Fear will try to keep you in the familiar, in the safe, in the ordinary. Faith has the power to silence fear. Faith has the power to redirect your focus. Faith has the power to move you into alignment with your divine purpose. Faith is an act of obedience. Choosing faith over fear requires discipline, courage, and perseverance. It is a conscious decision to trust God, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It is a declaration that God's plan is bigger than your doubt. It is a refusal to let fear dictate the course of your life. Faith is not passive, it is active. Faith steps forward even when the ground feels uncertain. Faith moves into action even when the outcome is unknown. Faith speaks truth even when the enemy tries to whisper lies. Fear will attack in many ways. It will try to convince you that you are not enough. It will try to convince you that your time has passed. It will try to convince you that the blessing will never come. But God's word reminds us that perfect love casts out fear. 1 John 4, when in need. Love is the foundation of faith. When you trust in God's love, His protection, His timing, and His wisdom, fear loses its power. When you act in faith, fear cannot control you. When you believe God's promises, fear becomes irrelevant. In 2026, fear will come in disguise. It will appear as doubt, hesitation, indecision, or worry. It will manifest as financial concern, relational stress, career uncertainty, or health challenges. But here is the principle. Faith is your response to fear. Fear is a signal, not a verdict. Fear is a challenge, not a command. Fear is temporary, but faith is eternal. Fear focuses on obstacles. Faith focuses on God. Fear sees the problem. Faith sees the solution. Fear paralyzes. Faith empowers. It is not enough to say, I believe, if your life does not reflect it. Faith must be demonstrated in your choices, in your words, and in your steps. Step out when fear wants you to stay. Speak when fear wants you to be silent. Move forward when fear wants you to wait. Obey when fear wants you to compromise. Faith is proven by obedience, courage, and consistent action, even when the outcome is uncertain. Think about your life for a moment. How many blessings have been delayed because fear held you back? How many opportunities have passed because you hesitated? How many prayers have been unanswered because fear replaced faith? How many dreams remain unfulfilled because you allowed fear to dominate your decision-making? Beloved, that ends now. In 2026, you will choose faith over fear. You will act despite hesitation. You will trust despite uncertainty. You will move forward despite doubt. Faith over fear also requires vision. You must fix your eyes on God's promises, on His plan, and on your destiny, rather than on the obstacles in front of you. Fear focuses on what you cannot control. Faith focuses on who controls the future. Fear magnifies the problem. Faith magnifies God. Fear sees limitations. Faith sees possibilities. Fear brings anxiety. Faith brings peace. Fear paralyzes. Faith propels. The life you desire, the destiny you are meant to walk in, the breakthrough you have been praying for, they are all on the other side of fear. Fear is not a wall. It is a gate. And faith is the key that opens it. Step through it. Move boldly. Trust God's time and believe His promises. Obey His instructions. And watch as what once seemed impossible becomes your testimony. Beloved, in 2026, fear will come for you, but faith will rise within you. Fear will try to stop your breakthrough, but faith will guide your steps. Fear will try to make you settle for less, but faith will position you for more. Fear will highlight obstacles, but faith will reveal opportunity. Here is the promise: those who choose faith over fear will see mountains move, doors open, and destinies unfold beyond imagination. I will not live in fear. Choose faith. I will step forward even when I cannot see. I will trust God's plan above my circumstances. I will obey, act, and persevere. I will believe that God's favor, blessings, and breakthrough are mine, regardless of fear. Let that be the cry of your heart as you step into 2026. Faith over fear is not optional. It is essential. It is the principle that will separate ordinary lives from extraordinary destinies. It is the key that unlocks favor, opens doors, and positions you for the miraculous. It is the choice that transforms anxiety into peace, hesitation into action, doubt into victory. Refuse fear, step boldly, speak boldly, move boldly, obey boldly, and watch as God turns faith into miracles, obedience into testimony, and your life into a story of divine favor and breakthrough in 2026. Focus is the key that unlocks destiny, and distraction is the thief that steals it. In 2026, God is orchestrating your life, opening doors and aligning opportunities. But here is the reality: if you cannot maintain focus, if you allow distraction to dominate your attention, your blessing, your breakthrough, and your destiny will pass by unnoticed. Distraction is subtle. It is often disguised as necessity, opportunity, or even entertainment, but its purpose is to scatter your energy, divide your attention, derail your divine assignment. Distraction comes in many forms. It comes as noise business and constant stimulation. It comes as social media, endless notifications, and superficial conversations. It comes as tasks that feel urgent but are not important. It comes as relationships, activities, and habits that pull you away from the path God has set before you. And if you are not careful, distraction will steal your clarity, dilute your purpose, delay your breakthroughs. Beloved, the enemy knows that focus is powerful. He knows that when you are concentrated on your purpose, distractions fade and your breakthrough is inevitable. He knows that when your mind, your heart, and your spirit are aligned with God's instructions, doors open, opportunities multiply, and favor accelerates. That is why he works so hard to scatter your attention. That is why he fills your life with noise, chaos, and competing priorities. That is why he tempts you to prioritize the urgent over the important, the convenient over the divine, temporary over the eternal. Focus is not passive, it is intentional. Focus is not optional, it is essential. Focus requires discipline, awareness, determination. It requires saying no to what is not aligned with your purpose. It requires prioritizing what matters most over what feels easy or convenient. It requires guarding your mind, your time, and your energy against anything that would divert you from the assignment God has given you. Every major achievement, every breakthrough, every story of success is rooted in focus. Abraham focused on God's promise, even when the circumstances seemed impossible. Joseph focused on integrity and obedience, even when betrayed and imprisoned. Esther focused on God's timing, even when fear threatened to paralyze her. Every step of faith, every act of obedience, every choice to ignore distraction and maintain focus brought them closer to their destiny. And this principle is true for you today. Focus is the bridge between divine instruction and fulfilled destiny. Distraction is subtle because it often appears harmless. It may seem small at first, a text message, a social media scroll, a casual conversation, a quick task. But distraction is like a leak in a dam. If unchecked, it grows, spreads, and eventually undermines everything. The energy, time, attention you give to distraction are energy, time, and attention you are not giving to purpose. Hours spent on things that do not matter, hours stolen from your breakthrough, your calling, and your testimony. Beloved, focus requires sacrifice. You will need to remove what does not serve your purpose. You will need to limit what divides your attention. You will need to prioritize your calling over convenience, your destiny over entertainment, and your obedience over comfort. Focus is not about doing everything. It is about doing what matters most. And what matters most is walking in alignment with God's plan, fulfilling your assignment, and stepping into the destiny He has prepared for you. Distraction is designed to confuse, delay, and mislead you. It will tell you that everything is urgent, everything is important, and everything deserves your attention. But focus is discernment. Focus is knowing the difference between what matters and what does not. Focus is a spiritual lens that filters out the noise, eliminates confusion, and illuminates the path God has set before you. Focus is the weapon that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. In 2026, the stakes are high. God is moving. Opportunities are lining up. Doors are opening. Miracles are waiting. But if you are distracted, you will miss them. Your destiny requires clarity. Purpose requires attention. Your calling requires concentration. The life you desire, the impact you are meant to make, the testimony you are called to produce, all depend on your ability to focus over distraction. Focus over distraction is also about discipline. It is about training your mind and your spirit to stay anchored. It is about saying no to what is urgent but not essential. It is about ignoring what is tempting but not beneficial. It is about keeping your eyes on God, your heart aligned with purpose, and your hands busy with obedience. Discipline protects focus, and focus produces results. Distraction often appeals to comfort, ease, and instant gratification. It tells you to delay, to settle, to postpone, to compromise. But focus demands persistence, endurance, and sometimes discomfort. Focus says, I will not be moved by noise. I will not be swayed by convenience. I will not be distracted by what is temporary. I will remain on the path God has assigned to me, and the reward, clarity, alignment, breakthrough, destiny. Beloved, you must also recognize that focus is a spiritual principle. It is not just about time management or productivity. It is about alignment with God's will. Distraction is spiritual warfare. It is the enemy's attempt to keep you from your purpose. Focus is your weapon. It is your shield. It is your declaration that you will not be moved, diverted, or delayed. Focus positions you for divine encounters, supernatural favor, and miraculous breakthroughs. Every great life is the result of focus maintained over time. It is the result of priorities established, distractions ignored, and principles followed consistently. Abraham, Joseph, David, and Esther, they all maintained focus in the face of distraction. And because they did, history was changed, nations were impacted, and destinies were fulfilled. This same principle applies to you today. Focus will determine the measure of your breakthrough, the speed of your progress, and the scope of your influence in 2026. Beloved, in practical terms, this means you must create space for focus. You must guard your environment, your relationships, your time, and your attention. You must limit what pulls you away from your calling. You must eliminate the noise and protect your spiritual, mental, and emotional energy. And when you do, you will experience clarity, peace, and a sense of divine alignment that distraction cannot touch. Distraction will try to steal your joy, your peace, your progress. It will try to keep you busy but unproductive, active but misaligned, moving but not advancing. But focus will anchor you. Focus will guide you. Focus will empower you to move decisively, act with clarity, and stay on the path God has prepared for you. Beloved, the choice is yours. Distraction is everywhere, but focus is intentional. Convenience will tempt you, but purpose demands attention. Noise will scream, but clarity requires stillness. Opportunity will pass, but alignment requires vigilance. Your life in 2026 will reflect the focus you maintain today. Step boldly. Prioritize what matters. Guard your attention. Reject what is unnecessary. Align your heart, mind, and spirit with God's instructions, and watch as your breakthrough, favor, and destiny unfold beyond imagination. Your destiny is not random. It is not a matter of luck, chance, coincidence, or timing by accident. Every detail of your life, the people you meet, the experiences you endure, the doors that open and the doors that close, has a purpose. Every step, every challenge, every victory has been orchestrated by a God who sees the end from the beginning. Your life is part of a divine plan, and your destiny is carefully, intentionally, and strategically designed. Too many people walk through life thinking that success is random. They believe that some people just get lucky, that opportunities fall on a whim, that some doors open because of timing or circumstance. But that is a lie. That is a deception. God does not work randomly, and your breakthrough is not by chance. Every blessing, every test, every assignment, every encounter has been perfectly placed to shape your life, guide your choices, and fulfill your purpose. The moments that feel like coincidences are actually divine appointments. The people who appear in your life are not accidents. They are strategically positioned to teach you, help you, or prepare you. The challenges you face are not meaningless. They are training grounds for strength, endurance, and wisdom. The victories you celebrate are not accidental. They are milestones of your divine plan being realized. Nothing in your life happens by random chance. It is all part of God's master plan. Consider the story of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. These events may have looked random, unfair, and hopeless, but Joseph understood that God was orchestrating every step, every trial, every delay. Every difficulty was preparing him for a purpose far greater than he could see at the time. His destiny was not random. It was designed, ordered, executed by God. And because he trusted the process, he rose to a position where he saved nations. Beloved, the same principle applies to you. Your setbacks are not meaningless. Your waiting period is not accidental. Your obstacles are not mistakes. Every moment of preparation, every period of testing, every season of uncertainty is intentional. It is shaping your character, refining your spirit, and positioning you for your breakthrough. Your destiny is not random. It is the product of divine design, meticulous planning, and perfect timing. Nothing is wasted in God's plan. Every tear, every trial, every delay, every hardship contributes to your purpose. Every lesson learned, every prayer prayed, every act of faith is part of a larger tapestry that will ultimately lead you to your destiny. Even when you cannot see the full picture, know this: God sees it all, and your life is being orchestrated for a purpose that is far greater than anything you could imagine. It requires attentiveness to divine signals, opportunities, and guidance. You cannot stumble into your purpose by accident. You cannot wander into your blessing by chance. You must recognize the moments, respond to the signs, walk in alignment with the instructions God has given you. Destiny unfolds when preparation meets opportunity and divine instruction meets obedience. People who achieve greatness, who fulfill their purpose, who leave a legacy, are not lucky. They are not fortunate. They are intentional. They recognize the divine orchestration in their lives. They respond to opportunities. They obey instructions. They move with purpose. And because they are intentional, they step into destiny that others would dismiss as random. to recognize your destiny or ignore it, to walk in alignment or wander aimlessly, to act in faith or cower in fear. Destiny is not random. It is shaped by the decisions you make, faith you exercise, and the obedience you demonstrate, the doors that open in your life, the opportunities that come your way, people who enter your life. These are all signals. These are not random. They are markers pointing you towards your divine assignment. Consider your past for a moment. Every experience, every victory, every heartbreak, every lesson, each one has contributed to your growth. Each one has prepared you for a future you may not fully see yet. Each one has been orchestrated to shape your character, refine your spirit, and align you with purpose. Even the delays, the disappointments, and the detours are intentional. They are shaping you to walk in alignment with your destiny. Your breakthrough is not accidental. Your purpose is not random. Your calling is not coincidental. God has designed a plan specifically for you. It has your name written on it. It has your fingerprint all over it. It is tailored to your talents, your gifting, your strengths, and even your weaknesses. No one else can walk your path. No one else can fulfill your purpose. And no one else can take your place in the story God is writing for 2026 and beyond. Destiny requires faith and obedience. You cannot sit idly by and expect your purpose to materialize by chance. You cannot procrastinate, nor divine instruction, or follow convenience and still step into your destiny. Every act of faith, every choice to obey, every decision to align with God's plan moves you closer to fulfillment. Destiny is not random. It is earned through alignment, action, and trust. He is aligning circumstances, opening doors, and placing people in your life to guide you, equip you, and propel you forward. Your breakthrough is prepared. Your blessing is ready. Your purpose is calling. But here is the critical point. You must recognize it, respond to it, and walk in obedience. Destiny is not random. It requires intentional action, awareness, and faith. Do not dismiss the subtle signs. Do not ignore the opportunities that come disguised as challenges. Do not underestimate the power of divine timing. Your destiny has been planned meticulously. Every detail has been accounted for. Nothing is random. Nothing is by accident. Everything is designed for a purpose, and the more you walk in alignment, clearly your path will unfold. My destiny is not random. My breakthrough is not accidental. My life is part of a divine plan. Recognize opportunities, respond to instruction, and walk boldly in faith. I will step into the assignments God has prepared for me. I will trust His time, and I will obey His guidance, and I will fulfill the purpose for which I was created. Your life, your calling, your purpose is intentional. Your destiny is deliberate, and in 2026, you will see the fruit of divine design as doors open, opportunities align. Your life moves in accordance with the plan God has written specifically for you. Action is the bridge that connects your faith to your testimony. Dreams remain dreams without action. Promises remain potential without action. Opportunities remain invisible until you step forward. God has prepared a blessing, a breakthrough, a divine alignment for your life in 2026. But if you do not act, if you hesitate, if you allow fear or doubt to paralyze you, blessing will remain unseen, and that testimony will remain untold. Faith without action is incomplete. Belief without motion is ineffective. Prayer without obedience is powerless. You can know the word. You can understand your calling. You can wait for divine timing, but if you do not move when God signals, you will never experience the manifestation of your destiny. Action is the visible expression of invisible faith. It is the proof that what you believe in your heart is real. It positions you to receive what God has prepared. Every testimony in Scripture began with action. Noah built the ark before the flood came. Abraham left his familiar land before receiving the promise. Moses led the people before the Red Sea parted. Joshua marched around Jericho before the walls fell. Esther approached the king before the nation was saved. Every breakthrough, every miracle, every divine shift required obedience in motion. It was not enough to wait passively. Action was the catalyst. Action often requires courage. Action often requires risk. Action often demands stepping into the unknown, moving when the path is unclear, and trusting when the outcome is unseen. That is why many people remain stuck. They see the vision, they hear the promise, they feel the call, but they do not act. They overthink. they hesitate. Wait for perfect conditions that never arrive. And in doing so, they delay the testimony God has prepared for their life. God's timing works in harmony with your obedience. The moment God gives you instruction, the moment you sense His guidance, the moment opportunity presents itself is the moment for action. Hesitation does not honor divine timing. It undermines it. Delay does not demonstrate faith. It compromises it. Your testimony begins the moment you decide to move forward, to step out, to act on the instructions and promises that God has placed in your heart. Joseph could have remained in the pit, in slavery, in despair, but he chose action at every stage. He interpreted dream. He maintained integrity. He spoke when necessary. He positioned himself strategically. He moved decisively. Because he acted, his life became a testimony. Because he moved, nations were saved. Because he obeyed, his family was preserved. The same principle applies to you. Your action today is the seed of your testimony tomorrow. Action also demonstrates faith. Faith is not just believing. Faith is believing enough to move. Faith is believing enough to take risks. Faith is believing enough to obey, even when fear whispers, "You cannot." Faith is believing enough to step forward, even when circumstances seem impossible. And every time you act in faith, you are sowing a seed that will produce a testimony, a miracle, a breakthrough, a divine story that glorifies God. Beloved, in 2026, enemy will try to stop your action. He will use fear, doubt, distraction, and temptation to paralyze you. He will try to convince you that waiting is safer, hesitation is wiser, that inaction is acceptable. But the truth is this: inaction is the thief of destiny. Opportunities pass, doors close. Blessings fade, dreams die, and testimonies remain untold. You cannot wait for courage to arrive. You must move in faith, and courage will meet you in motion. Action produces momentum. It produces clarity. It produces progress. It reveals obstacles, and in revealing obstacles, it teaches you how to overcome them. Action allows God to show up in supernatural ways because it positions you in the exact place where His power and favor intersect with your obedience. Inaction, on the other hand, keeps you stagnant. It keeps you in fear. It keeps you in doubt. It keeps you from seeing the manifestation of the promises God has placed before you. Action requires discipline and persistence. It is not a one-time event. It is consistent, deliberate, and focused movement toward your goal. It is showing up when it's difficult. It is persevering when progress is slow. It is working steadily, step by step, even when the results are not immediately visible. Every small, faithful action compounds over time. Those steps build the foundation for a testimony that will inspire, impact, and change lives. Every testimony begins with obedience in action. The smallest act of faith can produce the greatest results. The simplest step can trigger the largest breakthrough. Tiniest seed planted in faith can grow into a tree that provides shelter, sustenance, and legacy. Action is never wasted, even when it seems unseen, even when it feels ineffective. God multiplies it. What you do in obedience today, God will use to display His power tomorrow. Action also inspires others. Your testimony becomes a roadmap for someone else who is struggling, waiting, or doubting. When you act, you break chains, open doors, light the way for others. Your obedience in motion becomes a beacon of hope, courage, and faith. Impact of your action is greater than you can imagine. It reaches beyond you, your family, your community, and even generations to come. Beloved, 2026 is the year for decisive action. It is the year to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start moving in alignment with God's plan. It is the year to take the first step even when the path is unclear. It is the year to obey instructions, pursue opportunities, and act boldly in faith. Your testimony is waiting, but it cannot begin until you act. Action leads to testimony, but hesitation leads to delay. Action leads to breakthrough. Inactivity leads to stagnation. Action honors God, but passivity disappoints Him. You must decide today, will you move in faith, or will you remain paralyzed by fear, doubt, and hesitation? Will you act on the promises you have received, or will you let them slip by untouched? Will you take steps toward your destiny, or will you let your testimony remain a story untold? I will act in faith. I will move when God instructs. I will obey his guidance. I will step forward boldly, even when the path is unclear. I will sow seeds of action that will yield a harvest of testimony. I will not wait. I will not hesitate. And I will not allow fear or doubt to hold me back. My action will produce the testimony breakthrough. Blessing God has promised me in 26. Faith without action accomplishes nothing. Dreams without motion die. Promises without obedience remain invisible. Action is the key that turns vision into reality, hope into breakthrough, and instruction into testimony.